Hello, welcome to Rebel Base, IGN's weekly Star Wars show. Hey everyone, welcome back to Rebel Base. Daniel and Chris here. We're going to talk about, first up, the leaked the Blu-ray and what's on it. It seems.
Have they leaked it, or has it just been an accident?
Or somebody's like, well, people in Walmart, this website, have mucked up. So usually it comes from places like Walmart or Amazon. Mm-hmm. People just accidentally putting stuff live. Tesco as well. So it looks like it might be coming out in the UK at least on the 18th of April. And on Walmart's website, there was a list of extra features that are going to be on the Blu-ray. And we want to discuss which ones we're most excited about because they sound very interesting.
Yep.
They've definitely given some good extras.
The one that jumps out is the story Awakens, the table read, which is something when we first saw that photo, I think we talked about even on Rebel Base, saying, man, if they're doing the table read, someone should shoot that and put that on the Blu-ray.
It's historic.
And it looks like they have.
Especially when you've got people like Kaz down in the room as well. You know, they might be breaking and giving little pointers and story notes and not just the clean... Do you reckon it'll be the whole thing?
I'd love it if it was. Although it might be a slightly different... If it is, it might be slightly different to the version that was filmed.
Which was interesting for different reasons. I wonder if it might be just a 20-minute feature about getting everyone together that day.
Yeah.
Well, I would totally be interested in watching the whole table read.
And then how would that happen? I mean, if it wasn't when that photo was taken, was there a larger one when everyone was there? And I'd just like it if Mark Hamill was just sitting there twiddling his thumbs for 2 hours.
Do I really need to be here for this? It's just...
yeah, I mean, that would be... If it was a full... I think you're probably right. I think it's probably not...
A potted version.
Yeah.
Have you seen the documentary that's on the Phantom Menace about the making of? It's a 50-minute one. There's snippets of the table read there with Jake Lloyd, and you can barely see over the table. He's on a booster seat.
I do think that kind of thing's really interesting though, for any film. And it's become a business in the States. Is it Jake... So, who is it? Jake Kasdan, is it? Or Reitman? Jason Reitman hosts these table reads with different actors doing classic movies. Yeah. I'd like to see it with these guys. What else catches your eye?
So, I think John Williams, The Seventh Symphony. I think the score, I've been listening to it recently, and I think initially people didn't single it out for praise because the rest of the movie's so good, and people... he's done a lot of iconic music for that series, but I think the score is less immediately showy than some of the prequel scores. There's no big Jewel of the Fates song in it, but if you go back, it's a really interesting, nuanced score, and it's also laying down the foundations for a lot of stuff that's going to come. So I think any stuff with John Williams, who is a living legend, digging deep onto what he was thinking and writing these new themes would be really interesting. Yeah,
agreed. And just seeing him conduct an orchestra is quite an exciting thing. Building BB-8. I mean, do we know enough about BB-8 at this point, or is that still going to be of interest?
I guess the story that I know about that is in the Sphero company, which Disney owned initially, and I think it was Bob Iger said that when J.J. Abrams said, we need this new droid, he was like, I know the company for you, we already own them. That could be an interesting story about how that came about and how they scaled up the technology.
Yep, but if it's literally about building BB-8, that would have been something that we would have gone mad for a year ago.
Yeah.
But now, I feel like I know enough about him.
Well, it'd be quite good if it's like the Sphero one.
Yeah.
If his head keeps popping off and someone on set who just has to go find it, is fluffing it, pulling it out, sticking it back on.
Some of the extras we've got Secrets of the Force Awakens, a cinematic journey. So I guess that'll be an overarching documentary. Crafting creatures. So we guess I know what that's going to be about.
Simon Pegg in that as well.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Blueprint of a Battle, a Snow Fight. Okay. Visual Magic of the Force. Excited about that?
Again, that feels like quite a standard Blu-ray extra.
Yeah, maybe a 5-minute featurette.
But the one towards the end, deleted scenes. Now, we've heard a lot about these deleted scenes through the Star Wars Force Awakens art book and the making of book, and we know what some of them are. I want to see what state of completion they're in, because we know there's supposed to be a snowspeeder chase that Finn and Rey go on, and you see just before the Kylo Ren Han Solo scene, they pull up in the snowspeeder like something's just gone on. So I wonder, because obviously that's a very FX heavy sequence, what state of completion that is. And there's another one that I'm really interested in seeing is where Kylo Ren, without his mask, goes onto the Millennium Falcon. his father's shit,
Yeah.
and stands in the cockpit, and to see what kind of emotional performance Driver gives in that moment. Is there a sense that which way is he being pulled at that point?
Yeah.
Is he more kind of resolved to kill his father, or again is he feeling the pull to the light?
Yeah, but no blooper reel.
No.
And I thought they might put that undercover boss Kylo Ren Saturday Night Live sketch on it. I thought that might be something they would.
Do you think they will have, like, there's certain films that you just wouldn't do a blooper reel for, and this is like obviously very serious films. You're not getting one on Schindler's List.
No.
And this one as well, because I feel like you want to preserve it.
Yeah. Taking it too seriously, Dad. And
I would like one. I'd love to see BB heads popping off. BB-8s.
And Force for Change, so we'll get some charitable stuff on there as well, which is nice. But you
can't say that's rubbish, can we? You gotta support the charity.
My silence speaks volumes. But so hopefully in the next month or so it'll be out on digital, and then we'll be able to buy it.
There's actually a rumour that it might be out almost a month earlier on iTunes, but that's been unconfirmed. Okay, so next up, quick one here. Very awkward situation that happened recently on Twitter. John Boyega, who...
Bless his cotton socks.
So he said on the day that Battlefront came out that he was like saying, I'll see you in there, but you won't see me. And we spoke to him at the London junket for Star Wars, and we asked him about Battlefront. And he actually, I don't think had played it much at that point. Mm-hmm. Understandably. He was pretty busy around that time of the year the game came out and the month afterwards. But it seems like he's finally got round to playing Battlefront. And he's loving it, but he said something I think a lot of other people said at the time it came out and in its pre-release, that there's no traditional story mode. It's a multiplayer focused game. There are kind of little single player things you can do where you can fly X-Wings over Tatooine, or you can battle on Hoth. And there's kind of like very small chapters of story, but there's no traditional 12-hour story experience that takes you through a Star Wars original narrative. Yeah. And he tweeted the official EA Star Wars account from his personal account, will fans get a full-on offline story mode? It's more of an enjoyable way to learn the controls. Imagine manning the EA Star Wars account when that tweet comes in. Do you think it's like all hands on deck? So the poor sod who has to reply to him goes, have you had a chance to try the missions? He's like, yeah, thought it was great, obviously. But definitely leaves you wanting to engage within a narrative. Can I visit your base in the UK? I'm sure we can arrange something.
You know, it's General Hux that runs the EA Star Wars account.
he's few. Also, he said base. He said, can I visit your headquarters, your office, base?
I think he knows what he's doing now. I think that's a little bit.
But definitely the final one, I'm sure we can arrange something. I'm assuming they're referring visiting them, not creating an entire offline story mode just for John Boyega.
Agreed.
I just think I love the fact that he's unaware that was quite a contentious point in the build up to the game, and he's just kind of like just swagging in going, could you do this?
Yeah, I mean, John, come on, DMs, that's what DMs are for. I'm pretty sure EA Star Wars follows you.
Also, I'm sure you've got no shortage of like Star Wars contacts that can give you an update on this.
That said, we did pitch to Disney, didn't we, trying to play some Battlefront with John. Yeah. So maybe we should make if you're playing now, John, call us.
Yeah, so I thought it was a nice exchange.
Yeah. Okay. Lovely stuff.
So we're going to get even more Poe Dameron very, very soon. The Marvel Comics coming out from Charles Soule, who's talked a bit more about it this week. Is this a character that you're interested in learning more about, Chris?
Yeah, definitely, because I think it was a bit of a surprise that he didn't take centre stage as much. I mean, none of it, that was a lot of speculation as who's the lead character in this movie, how much time will everyone get with there being so many characters. But he did seem like, with, the matinee idol good looks and the fact we were hearing he's the new Han Solo, that he would potentially be the lead. And he wasn't. He was
and the movie also throws you, because it begins with him.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh, right, pull it out. And then goes MIA.
Shifts
literally
a couple
for
of times.
Ages.
Yeah, without his jacket. So I'm definitely up for finding out more about him.
Yeah, so there's some really kind of juicy quotes that Charles Soule, great Marvel writer, who also has written, he's currently writing Daredevil as well. He's pitched it as kind of a real like genre mashup comic, which I really like, which, you know, I guess the original Star Wars was, it mashed up lots of different genres. He says, I like to think of it as a bunch of different genre movies stacked up one after the other. I've been doing this for a while. Actually, Lando was a heist movie, the other comic he wrote. Obi and Anakin is a post-apocalyptic steampunk western. Poe will be the same, with each arc feeling a bit different. The first story is straight up weird, 70s sci-fi, but there's plenty more to come. A prison story, an espionage tale, lots of great stuff. So it sounds like he's having a lot of fun writing this. And I like, he's kind of a question, you know, he's a character that you can put in lots of different situations, because he's like the crack pilot. It seems like he's been sent on lots of missions, which I think lends itself very well to like an episodic series.
And he's brave and he's funny.
Yeah.
He's got that swagger about him that a lot of the great heroes do have.
Yeah, and that opening sequence when he like says to Kylo, how does this work? Do I talk first? Do you talk first? And Kylo Ren isn't the villain to kind of trade verbal blows with him. So I think Sewell's recognised that, and he's given him kind of a more appropriate villain. He says the villain is a new character, an intelligence officer in the First Order with some ties to the old Empire. He's a scary guy, a little older, which I think gives him a cool gravitas in much the same way as Peter Cushing delivered as Grand Moff Tarkin. His approach to conflicts is very interesting, and he can be a charmer, so kind of like Poe. And I like this line. I think of him almost like an evil Lando, which I think is very cool.
Yeah, well, some of the best villains are charming, aren't they?
Yeah. And I think that's, you know, if this is going to run this comic, you need someone who's just not going to be just the straight man that Poe is constantly ridiculing. You want someone to go back at him.
And we've not had a lot of that in the Star Wars universe, certainly not actually, in the films. The villains are pretty straightforward. Well, no, they're not straightforward, but they're not charming. No, you've not got your Magneto kind of as a villain.
But yeah, I'm really excited about this comic. Is there any other characters from The Force Awakens that you'd particularly like to learn more about? And I think that comic would kind of work particularly well for them.
Well, the two obvious ones are Kylo Ren and Rey, but that's going to be what these films are about. So I don't think there's any point in saying those two. But I think beyond Poe, I think Hux and Phasma are obviously two characters that didn't get a huge amount of screen time that people have spoken about before. So it would be interesting to get their backstory.
I think Phasma's the one for me because, you know, such little screen time again. And how has she risen to that position?
Yeah.
That's one where you can go back and do like kind of flashback stuff, and it doesn't feel cheap because you want to know how she ascended to that position.
Yeah. Same with Unka Plut.
Yeah. Just in trading.
How did he ascend to that position?
Yeah.
And what about the blokes from the raid?
What's his economy about?
I want to just see them fighting, because they're in the film, they don't do much fighting.
A whole series called Kanja Club.
Yeah.
And it's like Phoenix Nights, but it's set in Kanja Club, which is basically Space Glasgow.
That's quite a good idea.
Yeah, let's do that. So yeah, those are the comics.
I am interested though in the way that, you know, we're obviously going to get a Star Wars film every year forever now, probably. And in the way that now comic book movies will adapt, you know, a classic storyline from the comics from years ago, the Gwen Stacy or whatever have you. I wonder if one day there'll be Star Wars films that actually take some of these plot lines that are being written in the comics and they become films down the line. They won't right now because there's, you know, they're keeping them quite separate and there's a plan with the films. But I wonder if in 20 years' time someone will say, oh, I love that Lando one. I've got a vision for that movie.
Yeah, definitely. Especially these are in continuity. And me and Gav talk about this, is I wonder what the actual mechanics are behind the scenes. Because you hire great storytellers in any medium, that's a great thing to do first off. But then comes the logistical nightmare. You don't want the expanded universe to happen again, where things just happen without any planning. And I wonder what the conversation is, like whether there's a character they'd love to seed and they say to Charles Soule, you do whatever you want, but can you somehow work in this guy? Because he's important for X movie 5 years from now, and it'd be awesome for you to lay the groundwork. I'd be interested to know what those conversations are like. Sound like a nightmare to plan. Probably on Trello, or probably got a Trello for it, or a Google Doc. Yeah. So yeah, those are the comics we're really excited about. I'm definitely excited about Poe Dameron's comic. So this week I also found something that was very interesting, talking about guidelines and principles for writing Star Wars stuff. Lucasfilm chief executive, creative executive, Pablo Hidalgo tweeted out pictures from a Star Wars style guide he wrote way back in 1994 for people who wanted to, I think, work within the expanded universe and work on this kind of role-playing series. And I thought it was really interesting that some of the principles in it would actually stop the prequels from ever being written. So here's one of them. Think big. Don't underestimate the size and scope of the galaxy. There's a galaxy of billions of stars with a hyperspace-linked culture that has been around for 20,000 years. There is room for an astounding amount of diversity. Likewise, not everything or everyone should be from Tatooine or Bespin, just like not everything interesting happens in Boise, Idaho. So, yeah, in The Phantom Menace, everything happens on Tatooine again. Yeah. He could have been from anywhere, but everything goes back to Tatooine.
I wonder if he read George Lucas's outline before he wrote this guide.
It does feel like that.
It was him,
especially the next bit.
Okay, continue.
The next bit, the big rule is, do not talk about the past. You may not discuss anything of galactic significance which occurs prior to Star Wars: A New Hope. This includes subjects such as the Clone Wars, specifics about the Old Republic, how the Emperor rose to power, how the Rebellion stole the X-Wing prototype, the fall of the Republic, the extermination of the Jedi, the history of Emperor Palpatine or Darth Vader, the Mandalorians, or anything about the history of the Jedi Knights.
Okay, but I don't know the circumstances around there. Is there not a chance that what I said isn't a joke and that Lucas was involved with this and said, look, my story is the films we eventually do are going to tell this story, so the role-playing guys really can't do any of these. I wonder if Lucas was in on that.
One day I might do this stuff, so don't encroach upon it.
Yeah,
so you'll tie me up.
Yeah, in 1994, was he thinking about it? Had he discussed it with Pablo? I don't know.
Pablo's pretty high up there.
Yeah.
And also, obviously I'm being a little bit churlish about this. My also point I want to make, if anyone can break these rules, it should be George Lucas.
Uncle George.
He created everything. So while I'm being a little bit flippant, I think that these are amusing to look back upon.
Yeah.
But I think it's partly what you're saying, also partly that he created it. He can do whatever the hell he likes.
Yep.
I do believe that.
It was his baby.
It was his baby, and he can ruin it. Okay, fine. Time for some forced feedback. Got a brilliant email here from Jared, who's a friend of the show, and he is from Ohio, but he also lives in China.
What?
I know.
He's not from Boise, Idaho, is he?
No.
Okay.
Where all the interesting things happen. Jared wrote in to say, as a gay man, I'm all for gay representation in movies and TV shows, but I think in 2016, introducing a gay character needs to be done well. I'm tired of characters being gay just for the sake of being gay. If Star Wars were to make Finn gay, I do feel it would be a bit shoehorned in, because it's pretty apparent in Episode 7 that he's interested in Rey. Poe, on the other hand, who hasn't had such a devoted plotline and who has already been defined as a skilled pilot, would be much more likely candidate as a gay character. I love to see Poe as a gay character, but even more so, I'd love to see he's in a gay relationship this whole time, but it just hasn't come to the forefront yet. I love for a gay character in Star Wars to be wholly involved with the main plot and his sexuality never becoming an issue or a big side story arc. Just let the man have a well-formed and mature gay relationship and focus on his other character attributes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Totally agree. I mean, he says later, just at the end of the email, which I really liked, he said just have it be an aside. Before a big mission, just have Poe kiss his lover goodbye, let all our jaws hit the floor, and then move on with the story.
Yeah.
I quite agree. I mean, the example he gave was he would like to Jon Snow to have been gay in the Game of Thrones TV series, but something like that. Where I think it would be really interesting if it's someone that was established, and people have thought that maybe Poe, they are seeding that already. Him in that coat.
Yeah, people. That's the thing. Like, obviously, the internet latched onto making kind of little mashups of them embracing. I'm sure when the movie, to go back to our first point, when the movie comes out on Blu-ray, there's going to be about 1 million YouTube love montages of the two. So that's
I can't wait for them. And director J.J. Abrams has been talking about this as well. He said that he expects the franchise to explore adding openly gay characters to the cast. When I talk about inclusivity, it's not excluding gay characters, Abrams said during it was an awards. Oscar Wilde Awards. He said it's about inclusivity, so of course, to me, the fun of Star Wars is the glory of possibility. So it seems insanely narrow-minded and counterintuitive to say that there wouldn't be a homosexual character in that world. Agreed.
Yeah.
So why didn't you put one in your bloody movie, JJ? Or if you did, why didn't you tell us?
That's what he got, didn't he? That was a lot of the comments. Do you think that's a bit harsh saying that to him? Like, considering, the two leads in the movie do a lot for diversity and diversifying Star Wars in general. The main character is a woman for the next 3 movies as the hero, and the other kind of male lead is black.
Yeah, agreed. And I'm sure he was put on the spot maybe and asked a question, but equally, it's easy to say it, but you've had the opportunity to
actually do it.
Yeah.
Because, to go back to Jabba's point, could have quite easily have had Poe doing that before he went on the final mission.
Very much
you
so.
have the scene. Mm-hmm. Easy for him to say.
Should we kiss at the end of this?
So let us know what you think about that issue or anything else related to Star Wars at rebelbase@ign.com. Until next week, for everything you need on Star Wars, stay right here on IGN.